Good morning. So I'm like a little trigger happy here. I'm going to be speaking about 3 different companies that I've worked with in the past who are using natural dyes and sustainable processes in a fairly large scale application. And so the first one, the problem that we're speaking about is that we have an enormous amount of textile waste annually, where deriving the raw materials, the supply, the consumption, and the disposal is unsustainable for the planet. And that used textiles are an underappreciated resource. So I'm looking at working with companies to look at that as a potential feedstock, meaning a supply source, and trying to figure out how to use and reuse those types of materials for continuing fashion. So the brands are looking at ways, the brand, when I say brand, I mean like a fashion brand, is looking at ways to create a more sustainable environment using circular economy principles. So we're going to review 3 different companies today. The first is Eileen Fisher, and they've adopted a circular fashion model to use old fashion for new feedstock. The New Denim Project is taking cutting room scraps and making new fiber and new fabric. And Evernew is recycling post-consumer garments on a molecular scale and creating new fibers. So Eileen Fisher Renew. So Renew is the Take Back program, and it's the resale division of Eileen Fisher. So what they'll do is, they were started in 2009, and their interest is to keep their clothing out of the landfill. So they've been taking their clothing back. They give the donator a $5 coupon, and then they will resell or reuse the fabric and the textile. We've been working with them since 2012 in various projects, including overdye, re-dye, and indigo dye of their fashions. So since 2009, they've taken back 1.2 million of their own garments. About 450,000 of those are being resold as just as clothing. I'm sorry, I'm not a good PowerPoint person. The rest is being used as part of either feedstock for new fashions, or they have a new project called Waste No More. And Waste No More is taking all of their garments and creating artwork and home goods from that project. So an Eileen Fisher Renew store, for those of you who are familiar with the brand, looks like an Eileen Fisher store. It's styled the same, it's just kept in the same environment, but all of the clothing is used. Then the clothing that isn't able to be used and just returned right into a used Renew store is then put into naturally dyed garments. So this is a program that we did in 2016 where we overdyed a number of their garments using natural dyes. And that was a garment dye project. We did about 1,200 pieces for them, and it was very successful for them. The newest innovation for them is called Waste No More, and so where others see waste, they see possibility. So they're taking piles of clothing that have holes or stains and cannot be reused in a Renew store and sold, and they're putting it into wall panels, art pieces, pillows, throws, cushions, and in some cases they're making new garments from it. So they were inspired by the Renew recycling team and one of their designers, whose name is Siggy All. They also teamed up with Lee Edelcourt to display at the Salon di Mobile in Milan this spring, so it was in April. And what Edelcourt was saying was that when waste becomes wealth and culture, the circle has come around twice, empowering new ventures and gifting the world with amazing beauty. So it becomes yet another idea for those of us who are looking at problems of how do we deal with textile waste, with problems with effluent, water use, resource use, that you as a brand or you as a designer can design a program where you take back your fashions and recreate something else. And you can embellish it either by reusing the fibers or naturally dyeing them. This is a set of cushions that they had at their presentation in Milan. The second program that I've been working on is called the New Denim Project. And so they have, they were established in 1956 as Iris Textiles, and they're being run by the third generation of the family, who's very interested in upcycling, which is the way to use, so Guatemala is where they're located, and Guatemala's largest export is sewn clothing. So they're taking scraps from sewn clothing and making it into new fibers and textiles. So here's a circular diagram. If you look at the upper right, where they have denim scraps, so these are coming from denim jeans companies. They shred it and turn it back into fiber. They spin it, they weave it, and they create the denim fabric, and then they'll create the upcycled garment and working with designers. So at least in the United States, they've been working with a number of very large brands who are showcasing their product as upcycled denim scraps, and they've been very successful. So these are their figures, but they feel that since they started, in 2018, they upcycled 380,000 kilos of discarded fibers and textiles. So they kept that amount of product out of the landfill. They saved 7.5 billion liters of water. They reduced the number of resources that they have to draw from because they are only using product that's already been thrown away, and they're using mostly dry processes in order to create a yarn and a fiber. Right now we're collaborating with them to create a naturally dyed line of fabrics, and we've been doing trials and just went into production about 2 weeks ago. So it's looking really good, and it's a beautiful product for a customer of theirs. So what they say is, using this textile to textile upcycling system, we've managed to create a closed-loop industrial mill, which is among the first of its kind, worldwide. So for them, it's more of a mechanical process. It's really a visionary discovery and journey, how to really create a product that you can continually upcycle and reuse. So discarded materials are designed to become resources for others to use. The last one I'm going to talk about is a company called Evernew. And so Evernew was started, I think, in 2014. And they were looking at the problem of environmental impacts of the textile and apparel industries at scale. So the president of Evernew had worked for Target and done quite a bit of work in China, and was realizing that all of these programs that they were putting together were causing environmental problems, and so how could they mitigate that? So what the Evernew technology does is it safely converts post-consumer cotton by breaking it down to the molecular level and recreating a new fiber. And so in 2016, I worked with Evernew to create the first pair of Levi's jeans using Evernew technology. So what they gave to me was fibers that were made from 5 old t-shirts. So it were these spools and spools of fiber. And so I spun the fiber into a yarn, and then I dyed the yarn in indigo. And so we went from very, very high-tech extrusion to very, very low-tech hand spinning and also indigo dipping, but it was still a beautiful product. And they made 2 pairs of jeans, and it was really quite interesting to see I'll show you the image again. Let's see. So these are the jeans. So it says jean 1 of 2, first of many. And so that was done in Levi's headquarters in San Francisco. So this year, Evernew is going to be working with Stella McCartney, Target Corporation, and Levi's. And each of these brands will have products using the Evernew regenerated technology. And so what they're able to create is, because they're extruding a fiber, they can create a yarn of any size or pretty much any type of quality. So the yarn can be anything from swimwear and performance wear to denim to very high-level silk-like fabrics, and it's all from post-consumer t-shirts. So the other great thing about Evernew is that it can be disassembled, purified, re-extruded, and then engineered again and again. So once you have this product, you can continually recycle it and use it again to make more garments. For large-scale producers, like factories that are here in China or even anywhere else in the world, this is a great way of being able to recapture and reuse the fiber because the technology is localized. The other thing that happens is, because the cotton crops are often impacted by global warming, so that this becomes a way to create additional supply chains into cotton production and cotton yarn and fabrics. So the summary that I'm speaking to you about today is that there's really 3 unique approaches with textile and clothing waste. Taking back, as a brand, taking back your clothing, reselling it, or reusing the fibers and garments for something else. That's what Eileen Fisher is doing. The New Denim Project, taking products from the cutting room floor and being able to respin and reweave or reknit new fabric, and then use that fabric and recycle it again. And then Evernew, which is taking the post-consumer product and completely disassembling it, taking it down to the molecular level, re-extruding it, recreating, and being able to do that continuously. So in each of these cases, we have worked with these brands and these technology companies to help them understand the role of natural dyes. And so what they're very interested in is that, because natural dyes use a fairly simple technology, meaning that you're using a plant-based color, you're typically using a fairly benign mordant such as alum or possibly iron. And so then when they are taking these clothes back and reusing them, they know that they're not putting additional chemistry on it that could be detrimental. We also take a lot of care to look at water use and energy use with all of our projects to make sure that we're as efficient as possible. And we've been honored to have the opportunity to work with these companies, and we certainly look forward to working with them more in the future. Thank you very much.